You don't need motivation to go out for your run. You need routine.
We have been scrolling social media.
As we do.
As we do.
As you do too, don't at us.
Exactly. And we found a couple of recent running posts that we found inspirational, motivational.
Just also resonated. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, all of that was while we were trolling, looking for more Jimothy content. The first one that I loved, and I don't know how viral it went, but it was an interview during USATF Nationals just recently in New York, and Emma Coburn was being interviewed about, what I think it was like what makes her successful or like her tip. And she gave this quote about not needing motivation, but that you need a good routine. Let's give it a listen.
You don't need motivation to go out for your run. You need routine. For me, that's literally every day I know I'm running at 9 a.m. And if it's hot, I'm running at 8 a.m. And there's no debate. I don't wake up and have my coffee and say, what do I feel like today? When am I going to get that workout in? It's just part of my routine. You don't need a motivation. You just need a good routine.
This is such a smart way to think about training. And I will say, she is a professional athlete, so she can do the whole like rigid 9 a.m., 8 a.m. thing, right? I am not telling all of you to go and run 9 a.m. every day and get fired from your jobs. But I do think that when you're drinking your coffee in the morning, the plan that is already in front of you, I think that is so important. This is my big plug too for episode, Coach Chris will tag it, about the number one training hack, which is to do your workout in the morning. This is the same reason, because you can count on it. And I just love this idea that you do not need motivation if you have a routine already established. For me personally, this has been really important since, transitioning Edge out of a physical space where I kind of knew my daily routine to having much more flexibility. And I can kind of pick and choose where to put things, but that's also a problem, right? Because it's almost too much in my control. So what I've done is day to day, I have these, from a workout perspective, times that do not change. And that is when I know I'm going to lift or run, or I have accountability built in with someone else that's on that same cadence. And it's so great because I'm not then putting the stress on myself of like, when am I going to get this running? It's like, no, that's scheduled for 7 a.m. You're meeting up with Jem, right? And that there's so much power in that. And you just have such a calmer heart and you can just execute.
Yeah, it's definitely the freelancer's problem.
Yes.
Like, if you allow it to be flexible, it is so unlikely that you will get it done on a busy day.
And your consistency of getting it done is shit.
Exactly.
I don't know if we get an E for that, but I'll work on it.
Well, let's move to a quote about consistency next. I saw an interview on the Mel Robbins podcast with Steve Magnus, brilliant running coach, one of my favorite people in the running world to listen to. Read. And read, definitely to read. Okay, so here is the quote.
In your experience, Coach, especially with Olympic athletes, elite performers, what habits do mentally tough people tend to have?
What you see is they prioritize consistency over intensity, meaning they don't just shoot for like the magic day where everything aligns. They're like, hey, I've got to figure out how to show up day after day, even on the bad days, right? Even on the days when things aren't going well, where maybe we don't get the full workout in, but we get something in because they know that if they stack enough solid days after days, then that is what leads to greatness. In fact, way back when I was a college coach, I tracked this. I tracked how many times did people show up to practice in workouts and how many times did they miss them? And then I ran a correlation between improvement and who showed up. And guess what? Strong correlation. The people who showed up and didn't miss days performed better. In fact, the person who showed up the most during that period was this young lady who came in, and I kid you not, her freshman year in a race of 100 plus people, I think she was 99th out of like 101. By her senior year, she was qualified for the first round of the national championships.
Wow.
Huge jump. And if you looked at the data, out of everybody on the team throughout that period, she missed the least amount of practice. She missed the least amount of workouts.
The idea here is that the runners who improve the most are the ones who are the most consistent. And like, this is not mind-blowing information, right? This is pretty common sense, but the idea that he had tracked it and actually had the tangible results to say the people who miss the least amount of planned sessions are the ones who improve the most. It goes along this idea of having that routine and knowing when you're going to do your workouts and making it happen, and knowing that like it's not these big heroic efforts, the one amazing long run that's going to make you a better runner or a better athlete. It really is the consistency over your training block over the years that's going to really lead to big results.
It's kind of like habit stacking. I'm going to work James Clear into this, but it's true though, because if you can figure out how to tile your day to make sure that things just kind of get done and follow through. It doesn't mean that it's always so rigid, but your likelihood of hitting is increased so much, and your anxiety, I get not super anxious, but like I anticipate things, it just gets tamped down. The big rule here is to not miss twice. So if you get messed up, like my training next week is going to be goofy because I'm traveling for a run clinic, right? So I literally go from a Monday through Saturday to a Monday to Tuesday. There's no way I'm going to get all my training in, right? But I already know the following week, I'm going to protect those spots so I don't miss twice. I don't miss 2 Wednesdays in a row, right? And that will also help you become consistent with being consistent, right? Instead of just being in this free fall like I probably was for the first 2 to 3 months.
For sure. Yeah, and I love this because it does take the pressure off, like you said, the anxiety out of any one single session. Say, oh, I need to nail this speed run today, or my whole training is toasted. It really is like the 20 to 30 minute strength workout, not the 1 hour session that you're fearing or don't have time for.
Totally true.
It is a lot more manageable if you make it consistent.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox side hustle for a second. I think, and we see this over and over with new athletes coming back into sport, especially I still think, I see you post-COVID people that still haven't quite figured out how to put it back together. I think they see the Emma Coburns of the world, being consistent, etc., and thinking, oh, well, it just comes so easily to them. And, and they always feel good. And or any runner, oh, well, they're not anxious about starting. They just get it done. I promise you, every single athlete has that same ability in them. You just actually have to do it, right? And they tend to, people who don't identify necessarily as those athletes will put that up as a barrier of like, well, I'm different than that. No, we are literally all the same in this respect. I promise you. It's just the systems that you have in place and how do you piece them together. That's it. You too can strength train 20 minutes a day as long as you know where the heck it's going to be and you have some accountability to get it done.
Yeah, and you just mentioned getting started, which takes us to our third post that we had seen, which is from the running week.
Chances are you've seen this one. I feel like this is the one that went, at least in my algorithm, went a little bit gangbusters. And it's from one of the coaches at a camp in Iten, Kenya. It's all about, before you skip today's run, listen to this Kenyan rule, and that is to just fight for the first 5 minutes. And, he says it, and of course, in like a much better way than we're about to. So let's tune in.
You don't want to run today? Good. In Kenya, we have a rule for days like this. Put on your shoes, go outside, run for 5 minutes. Only 5, then you are free to stop. No guilt. But watch what happens after minute 3. The legs warm up, the head goes quiet, the excuses get tired, and you keep running. Not because you must, because now you want to. I coach runners in Iten. Even champions lose to the bed some mornings. They do not fight for 40 kilometers. They fight for the first 5 minutes. Because the hardest part of running is not the running, it is the starting. So forget the 10 kilometers. Win the 5 minutes.
I love this one because this is probably my favorite one because it is like the voice that can be in all of our heads, including coaches, right? Of like, just do 5 minutes of it and see how you feel. And then no shade. If you want to turn around and be done, go for it, right? But chances are you're not gonna, because the hardest part is just getting started. And we have to, again, remember that is true for all of us. It is not unique. You are not a special sunflower, right? to have that as a problem. It is what connects all of us. I also think that that's where accountability and meeting up with people is really beautiful, because you're not going to worry as much about the whole thing. You're just going to get there and execute the first 5 minutes, and before you know it, you're in the flow. But this one for me is especially salient when it's a solo workout.
Definitely. And I think this has been my rule for a very long time. I think maybe I say 10 minutes, but I certainly have turned around and gone home.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that it's far fewer times than the amount of runs I would have missed had I not had that rule.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a good way to let yourself experience the day, or just like trying to get out there. Like, I often have conversations about quiet quitting, right?
Yeah.
With athletes. And about like just giving up,
Yep.
right? This is something that forces you to acknowledge that you are going to give it an effort. And if at the end, like, you still have the migraine, or you are, super sore,
or
you're just not feeling
injury.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you at least kept the consistency
Yep.
of going through your training cycle. And that, I think, again, like, just to tie all three of these together, is you have the routine, you have the consistency, and you give it the 5 minutes. It is what it is. But I think 99% of the time, people are going to keep going.
It's funny. I always tell my athletes to have like a positive voice in their head, but in my mind, don't anyone do this. You can also probably cut this, but like, I literally am like, get the fuck out the door and do 5 minutes.
Right.
Like, this is how I say it to myself. But that's motivating for me. I'm not saying it's motivating for you, but it makes it really approachable. It's like, get over yourself. Just get out the door and try it for 5 minutes. Everyone has 5 minutes.
Right.
Just go do it.
Yeah. Everyone has 5 minutes, but not everybody has the motivation or routine to get themselves out. All right, so we are interested, we have limited algorithms. What clips have you seen that have been inspiring or motivational for you?
Please send me your Jimothy content. Love, Robyn.